Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, these magnificent surroundings to the launch of our celebration for the 250th anniversary of Scotland's national bard, our international icon, Robert Burns, and also the launch, effectively, of our Year of Homecoming, the year in which we celebrate Robert Burns' birth, and we have a magnificent array of events stretching throughout the year. Now, if I could just introduce and be allowed one moment of self-indulgence, and since we're celebrating Robert Burns' birth, that doesn't sound too inappropriate, as I would say it. So this moment of self-indulgence is, I want to announce to you tonight that I've reached the pinnacle of politics, the summit of ambition, the final accolade for any Scottish politician. Indeed, tomorrow I appear in the Bruins. I'm going for the hat-trick, ladies and gentlemen. Reverend Jolly, the Bruins. Only Oor Willie remains. There is plenty of other careers. It's always wise, if you're in my profession, with well, I was going to say majority, a plurality of one in the Parliament, to provide for other careers which may beckon. But I can say that, and this I hope I'm not betraying any great confidences, but the climax of the strip tomorrow in the cartoon is I get to say, because they have another guest at their homecoming Burn Supper in 10 Glebe Street, and I get to say, is this no Bra Gordon? Now we're both in number 10 Glebe Street. And anyway, who says I don't get on with the Prime Minister? I mean, my goodness me, cooperating in the Bruin Strip, what better cooperation could there possibly be, and entirely suitably, because all Scots, and indeed all our international friends the world over, should be cooperating this year to make this anniversary, this special anniversary, a year to remember, because what we're celebrating is the life and work of in my opinion, the greatest Scot of all time, a life which was short, but whose legacy spans the centuries, life whose work gave voice to the common man and captured the spirit of the Scottish nation. A democrat, a patriot, a ploughman, a poet, a totally hopeless romantic. Robert Burns was many things, but he was a man for all that. And tonight, as we celebrate the genius of our national poet, and what better place, a stone's throw away from his home, a few hours from the 250th anniversary, we herald a momentous year for Scotland. John Stuart Blackie once said, if Scotland forgets Burns, then history will forget Scotland. Ladies and gentlemen, over this year, indeed every year, it is our obligation to make sure that never, ever happens. And of course, in 2.5 centuries, Burns' popularity is undiminished. It's greater than ever. He actually said modestly of himself, my name has made a small noise in the country. It now, of course, commands universal appeal. We have this Burns season 3,000 registered Burns suppers who've registered on to the Federation's registration for the 250th anniversary, but that is a small percentage of the total number which are actually taking place, which would be 10, even 100 times that. But that shows the international compass of our national poet. So from Bahrain to Bangkok, from Banff to Buchan to Bishopbriggs, the haggis will be addressed, the immortal memory will be revered, the lassies will be toasted, and the proposer, of course, will be roasted in the best time-honoured tradition of Burns suppers. So across the world, across the continents, the 40 million people who regard themselves as Scottish, and many millions of more who have an affinity for our country and are joining the extended family of Scots the world over. I should note that we've already incorporated the newly inaugurated President Obama as part of that wider Scottish family. He joins a distinguished list, including, among others, Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson. And of course, for that reason, I was watching with great care the President's inaugural address to see if I could pick up some influence of our national bard in that address. And I offer this to you, ladies and gentlemen. He was making the point that the strength of America, indeed the strength of the world, is the constant work and effort of the people. And he said in the inaugural address on Tuesday, he was talking about men and women obscure in their labour. That's not too distant from for all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. If we think we're reading too much, certainly the concept's the same. I would offer the thought that President Obama's declared hero is, of course, Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln's declared hero was, of course, Robert Burns. Lincoln said of Burns, when declining the offer to give eulogy to Burns or a toast, he said the reason was he could say nothing of his generous heart and transcendent genius. He couldn't think of anything that would add to the power of the poet's own work. So we may be able to claim that Robert Burns is back in the White House. And indeed, if that is true, then I think the next 8 years will see a better place and a better direction than perhaps the recent past has allowed. Now, there are international monuments to Robert Burns the world over, more than to any other writer, some 300 at least, and they stretch from the United States to China, to Australia, to New Zealand, and we've even got one or two hereabouts around Scotland. I'm fond in particular of the statue to Burns in Central Park in New York. It was erected in 1880 by the Caledonian Society. It stands in a plinth of finest Peterhead granite, so we can expect it to stand there for some time.